didn't scream. He didn't protest. He didn't even expect a response. He just scribbled a few lines on a crumpled slip, dropped it into the suggestion box, and went back to wiping tables. But when the CEO's chopper landed outside the factory less than 48 hours later, and she walked in holding his note, every single suit in the boardroom knew one thing. The deal was dead. And the janitor? He was the reason. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. "Yo, mop boy!" The shout echoed through the aluminum-lined hallway. Michael Carter stopped mid-swipe, gripping his mop as three men in pressed suits laughed from behind him. "I think there's something sticky in the executive bathroom," one of them sneered, tossing a crushed coffee cup to the floor right by Michael's bucket. He said nothing, just nodded once, the way he always did. The janitor at Halverson Advanced Tech didn't get into arguments. Not when rent was overdue. Not when his 6-year-old had just started coughing again. And definitely not when this job was the only thing keeping his son's asthma meds coming in. But he noticed it. Every eye roll, every careless drop of trash, every time they called him Mop Boy like he didn't have a name. It wasn't always like this. Michael once wore a lab coat, not a blue jumpsuit. He'd graduated top of his class in systems engineering, had patents under his name, and he designed components still used in the latest military drones. Until 3 years ago, when his wife died in a pileup on I-75, and his world split open. He'd dropped everything to raise Dylan, to survive. And that meant scrubbing toilets in the very building where his rejected prototype once sat, collecting dust in the archives. That afternoon, a massive white banner fluttered above the lobby. "Welcome to the Valcor Partnership." Michael's eyes narrowed as he read the fine print on a flyer. Production Phase 1, Automation Restructuring, Full Staff Audit Pending. He knew what that meant. Layoffs, dozens, maybe hundreds. People like him would be the first to go. Custodians, security, warehouse techs. Not the guys making 6 figures sitting in glass offices arguing about synergy. That night, the building was empty except for Michael, the security guard, and the vending machine humming in the corner. As he refilled the soap dispensers, he saw the clear box labeled Employee Thoughts and Suggestions. He stared at it. Something in him cracked. He pulled out a folded receipt from his pocket, and he wrote, "To whoever reads this, my name is Michael Carter. I know this Valcor deal will automate our jobs. But the people here, they're more than their titles. One of your cafeteria staff sends her paycheck to her brother in chemotherapy. The old security guard in East Wing B, he saved 2 kids from a fire last winter. And me? I used to design the very systems you're now using to replace us. If this partnership goes through, you'll gain efficiency, but you'll lose something greater. Humanity. Please, rethink this." He slid it in, folded twice. Didn't sign it. Didn't expect anything. He just walked out, like he always did. What he didn't know was that the CEO herself was scheduled for a surprise visit in 36 hours. And she read everything in that box, every crumpled, overlooked note. And when she picked up his message, she froze. Not because of what was written, but because she recognized the name. Michael Carter, the man who once saved her company and disappeared. "Stop the car." Miranda Halverson's voice was calm, but it carried the weight of a slammed gavel. The driver pulled the SUV to a halt just outside the factory gates. Halverson Advanced Tech's iron signage loomed over them like a cold warning. "We build the future." She held the crumpled note in her hand. Not a typed letter, not a corporate proposal. Just a scribbled message on the back of a gas station receipt. Michael Carter. Her eyes hadn't left the name since she pulled it from the suggestion box that morning. "How?" she whispered, her throat suddenly dry. Because Michael Carter wasn't just a name from her company files. He was the man who once stood before a full boardroom, pitching an early version of the ARES-9 system, an advanced adaptive targeting software that would later save her brother's life in a covert overseas op. And then, after the contract closed, he vanished. No resignation, no farewell email, no LinkedIn updates, just gone. Until now. Inside the building, Michael was rinsing out mop heads when the buzz hit. A CEO visit? This wasn't a quarterly check-in. This was the kind of unexpected storm that made upper management panic, clean their keyboards with antibacterial wipes, and scream at interns to fix the coffee machine. He barely registered the noise, just wiped his hands on a rag, then helped Martha, the 63-year-old cafeteria clerk, restock napkins. "Think they're here to cut us loose?" she asked, voice low. Michael gave her a small smile. That'd be a nice twist, wouldn't it? Someone showing up just to say, "You matter." But deep down, he was bracing for it. He'd already looked up jobs at gas stations the night before. Miranda walked the production floor with silence heavy in her footsteps. She wasn't here to play nice or take photos for PR. She was here for him. She stopped near Supply Bay 6, where an old man sat reading a newspaper. "Excuse me, is Michael Carter still on staff?" The guard blinked, surprised. "Carter? Yeah. Janitor. Night shifts mostly." Miranda nodded once. "Tell him to meet me in the West boardroom in 20. When Michael walked into the room, he didn't flinch, didn't shrink. But he felt the shift in air, like stepping into a courtroom with no jury, just judgment. She turned from the window slowly, their eyes locked. "Mr. Carter, Miss Halverson." Silence. "You wrote this?" she asked, holding up the note. Michael didn't lie. "Yes." "You didn't sign it? Didn't think it'd matter?" She studied him. The mop bucket outside the glass door, the frayed jumpsuit, the quiet sadness in his eyes. "I remember you," she said finally. 3 years ago. You proposed a modular auto-routing system for our fleet optimization. We rejected it. You walked out." Michael gave a tired smile. "I didn't walk out. Life dragged me." A beat passed. Then he added, "My wife died. I needed a job, any job, that'd let me be home when my son couldn't breathe at night." Miranda's throat tightened. He wasn't asking for pity. She sat down. "What you wrote? It's the only honest thing I've read all quarter. My board's been pushing this Valcor deal for months. Says it'll raise profit margins by 22%. And cut your human team in half," Michael replied quietly. She looked at him sharply. "Do you still have your old prototype?" "Why?" "Because if you can help me kill this deal with a better one, I'll do it." He hesitated. "That would mean going against your own board." Her jaw tensed. "I built this company from my mother's basement. I'm not letting it become a machine that spits out numbers and swallows people." Then she leaned forward. "You said humanity matters. Prove it. Help me fix this before it's too late." Michael looked at her, then down at his calloused hands. He hadn't touched an engineering model in 3 years. But that night, while his son slept curled up on the couch beside a flickering TV, Michael pulled out a dusty black notebook from under the sink and began to sketch. Because sometimes kindness isn't loud. Sometimes it's a quiet note in a box. And sometimes it changes everything. The janitor's closet wasn't built for brilliance. The light buzzed overhead, casting weak shadows over old mop buckets, rusted bleach cans, and a tattered poster about workplace safety. But Michael Carter didn't need luxury. He needed silence, space, and purpose. And tonight, he had all three. The old notebook lay flat on the counter beside his son's untouched peanut butter sandwich. Dylan had fallen asleep on the floor, cradling his stuffed fox, a blanket tucked under his chin. Michael's fingers trembled as they gripped the mechanical pencil. He hadn't felt this alive in years. Back at Halverson HQ, Miranda Halverson's board of directors sat in stunned silence. "You want to kill the Valcor deal?" one of them asked, blinking. "Miranda, we've spent months negotiating this automation contract." She didn't blink. "Yes." "Do you have a replacement system ready?" "I will." Another scoffed. "With respect, from who?" "Your janitorial staff?" Miranda's eyes burned holes into him. "Actually, yes. And if you ever refer to him like that again, I'll personally make sure your badge doesn't scan tomorrow." Dead silence. 2 days later, Michael walked into the boardroom again. This time, no mop, no jumpsuit, just jeans, a button-down, and that black notebook hugged to his chest like armor. "Miss Halverson," he said, setting it down. "I call it SARA, Scalable Adaptive Resource Architecture. It's not just a routing system. It learns human patterns, prioritizes team strengths over AI assumptions. It doesn't replace people. It enhances them." He opened the pages. Every diagram, every algorithm handwritten with obsessive precision. The lead engineer flipped through the notes. "Wait, this logic tree, this is brilliant. Where did you even learn this?" Michael gave a small, hollow smile. "Same place you did. College. Before grief made me trade lab reports for cleaning rags." Miranda leaned forward. "Can it be built in 3 weeks?" Michael nodded once. "If I'm allowed to pick my team?" "Pick whoever you want." That night, Michael didn't go back to the janitor's closet. He went to the R&D lab. And one by one, people joined him. Jared from IT, who was never taken seriously because of his stutter. Mariah from accounting, who used to tinker with robotics in high school but gave it up when no one believed in her. Even Martha from the cafeteria dropped by with late-night meals and ideas. And slowly, the lab became alive. Like a heartbeat, like a rebellion. Word spread that the CEO had handed her entire company's future to a janitor. That engineers were getting coffee for cafeteria workers. That the people at the bottom were being asked to help lead. One VP sneered, "What is this?" "A charity." Miranda looked him dead in the eye. Number, "It's a revolution." Meanwhile, Valcor caught wind. They sent a warning letter, threatened to sue for breach of pending agreement, leaked a story to the press claiming Halverson Tech was gambling with national defense systems by trusting unqualified staff. And that night, someone threw a brick through Michael's apartment window. He didn't quit, didn't stop. Even when Dylan clung to him, crying, asking why someone would hurt them for building something good. Michael just hugged him and whispered, "Because they're scared of what happens when someone like us finally gets a voice." Then he turned back to the lab, because what started as a note in a box had become a blueprint for war, and he was ready to win it. The press conference was set for 9 a.m. sharp. Miranda Halverson stood backstage in a tailored gray blazer, eyes locked on the screen behind the curtain. The podium waited, polished and perfect, with the Halverson Tech logo gleaming in front of rows of reporters and camera flashes. But she wasn't watching the cameras. She was watching him. Michael stood off to the side, arms crossed, wearing a clean white shirt and dark jeans. No suit, no script, just the weight of an entire company on his shoulders. She turned to him quietly. "You don't have to speak, you know." He looked at her, calm but determined. "I do. They need to hear it from someone who's been overlooked." She gave a small nod. "Then say it like you wrote that note. From the gut." The curtain rose. Lights flared. Miranda stepped forward first. "Good morning," she began, her voice strong and sharpy, slicing through whispers. "As many of you know, Halverson Tech had been in final talks with Valcor to automate several production divisions. That deal is canceled. Effective immediately." Gasps rippled. But instead of defending that decision myself, I want to introduce the man whose voice reminded me what this company was built on. Please welcome Michael Carter. The room went still. "A janitor?" some reporters whispered. Others clicked pens with open skepticism. But Michael walked forward slowly, steadily. He stood at the mic, and he spoke. "I wasn't supposed to be here." He looked down for a beat, then back at them. 3 weeks ago, I was mopping the East Wing hallway, wondering how long I could keep affording my son's medication before they let me go. Then I saw banners celebrating the Valcor deal. I knew it meant layoffs, automation. I knew I was disposable. His voice tightened slightly. But I also knew the people here. The single mom working graveyard shifts. The older man who still stands guard every night, even with a limp from an old injury. And I couldn't stay quiet. He held up the notebook. So I left a message. In a box. He paused. Let the silence stretch. Then, "You want to talk about innovation?" It doesn't live in the boardroom. It lives in the minds of people too tired to dream out loud. People who've been told they're not valuable unless they're profitable. I used to design defense software. But I was just the janitor until someone opened that box. One clap, then another, then the entire room. Reporters stood. Engineers in the back wiped their eyes. Valcor's retaliation came fast. Legal threats, discrediting campaigns, even rumors about Miranda's leadership being emotional and unstrategic. But then something unexpected happened. The employees fought back. They launched an internal campaign, posted Michael's speech on every internal screen, shared their own notes in the box, anonymous stories of being ignored, dismissed, underestimated. And investors took notice. Stock prices stabilized, then soared. Because what was happening at Halverson wasn't a breakdown. It was a revolution in empathy. Later that week, Miranda walked into the old janitor's closet, now cleared out. She handed Michael a badge. VP of Human-Centric Innovation. He blinked. That's a real title? She smiled. It is now. Then, softer. You were right, Michael. We almost lost our soul chasing numbers. He looked down at the shiny new ID. We didn't lose it. We just forgot to look in the right places. That night, he tucked Dylan in, the boy sleeping easy for the first time in weeks. Outside, the wind rustled the suggestion box on the lawn. It had been turned into a sculpture. A plaque beneath it read, "Because one note can change everything." 3 months later, the building looked different. Not from the outside. Halverson Tech still had its steel beams and glass panels. But inside, the soul had shifted. The break room had become a meeting ground, not a place for leftovers. Engineers brainstormed with security guards. Custodians joined product testing huddles. And every department now had a new motto pinned on its walls. People first, always. Michael Carter's life had changed. He was no longer cleaning floors at night. He was leading weekly innovation labs, guiding teams, getting handshakes instead of smirks. But he never stopped showing up to help Martha roll the lunch carts, never stopped fixing the jammed vending machine when Dylan came to visit. He hadn't forgotten where he started, and he never would. One chilly Thursday morning, an email popped up on Miranda Halverson's phone. Subject: URGENT. Valcor lawsuit escalation. She opened it. Valcor had filed formal proceedings, claimed defamation, demanded damages for the canceled deal. Their legal team was preparing to strike hard. Miranda called Michael to her office. He walked in, leaned against the wall, listening calmly as she read the email aloud. "They're trying to choke us," she said. "They want to make an example out of us." Michael didn't blink. "Then we give them something they can't erase." That night, Michael posted a video. Just him, sitting in a worn hoodie, no lights, no music, just truth. "I used to clean your boardroom floors. Now I design the tools your teams use every day. But I'm not the only one. There are janitors out there who are engineers, cafeteria workers who are caregivers and poets, veterans pushing mail carts. You think automation's the future? Try empathy." He paused, then finished. "They're suing us because we chose people over profits. Let them, because this isn't just a company now, it's a movement." The video hit 10 million views in 4 days. National media picked it up. Veterans reposted it. Workers across industries shared their own hidden stories. People over profit trended for a full week. And Valcor? They withdrew the lawsuit, quietly. A few weeks later, Michael sat with Dylan at a modest diner. They were sharing pancakes, laughing about syrup disasters, when a soft voice interrupted. "Excuse me, are you Michael Carter?" Michael turned. A young woman stood there, holding the hand of a boy no older than Dylan. She smiled, eyes shining. "I was one of the contractors who was supposed to lose her job in that deal. I just wanted to say thank you. I have a son too. I didn't know how I was going to keep our place." Michael was quiet, moved. Dylan beamed. "My dad writes robot stuff now." The woman laughed. "Yeah? Well, he saved a lot of us." She handed Michael a simple thank you card. Inside it just said, "Because you spoke, I wasn't erased." Later that month, Halverson Tech officially renamed its suggestion program. It wasn't just a box anymore. It was a movement, digital, open, global. The Carter Channel. Anyone, from any corner of the company, no matter their title, could speak, and they would be heard. One evening, as the sun dropped behind the skyline, Miranda joined Michael at the roof of the building. "You know," she said, "when I first read that note, I thought you were brave." Michael smiled. "I wasn't brave. I was desperate." She looked at him. "Well, your desperation became a spark, and now we're building fire from it." They stood in silence, watching lights turn on in homes below, lives still being lived. Michael whispered, "Kindness doesn't make headlines, but it builds legacies." And in a forgotten hallway, an old dusty mop leaned quietly in a display case behind glass. Beside it, another plaque. The janitor who reminded us what it means to be human.